Hey guys, so welcome for the first early stage show. I'm very excited about this. So we are going to interview founder fundraising on Colony on this show. First, disclaimer, everything that we're going to talk about in this show is not financial advice and you should always do your own research. Today, we're talking with DeltaPrime. The deal itself, 30 million valuation, capacity $500,000 for CLY stakers. And in this video, we're basically going to go over the business achievements, the deal itself, and also the future plans of DeltaPrime with the two co-founders. There's more co-founders, but only two are joining us today. DeltaPrime is an under-collateralized borrowing protocol deployed on both Avalanche and also Arbitrum. And there you can basically earn yield on your asset as a depositor, currently yielding, it's pretty juicy, around 17% on USDC as of now on Avalanche, and on Arbitrum is about 12%. But you can also participate in the protocol as a borrower to execute your trading strategies with up to 5x leverage. In this show, we're going to go straight to the point. If you like it, if you want to discover more crypto entrepreneurs, their product, and how to invest in these early stage deals with Colony, please give this channel a follow. That will help us grow, and also, just like that video, that will help with the YouTube algorithm. And I should also mention this deal is KYC gated. So to participate, you need to stake CLY first, and then do your KYC. Colony is fully compliant with international laws regarding fundraising, so we do not accept US investors, and some other countries are also restricted. So to learn more, go on app.colony.io, app.colonylab.io, and then complete your KYC. So quickly, before we jump into the conversation with the founders, once again, raising 500K, valuation 30 million, vesting, no TGE, 6 months cliff, and 6 months linear. The business metrics themselves, the protocol has been live for a year and a half already. They have a TVL over $40 million. The protocol is already profitable. They generated last quarter about 1.6 million in revenue, mainly through liquidation mechanisms. They have an exciting, vibrant community with over 24,000 followers on Twitter and about 6,000 active users on the protocol itself. The team, as you will see, is very strong. They've been building for more than 2 years now, and they prove that they can deliver. So it's not every day that seed deals are available for a protocol that is already profitable, already live for more than a year, and with very good traction and fundamentals. So we'll deep dive with the founders to learn more about the business, about the deal, and we will start with the elevator pitch. So they will have 30 seconds to present you why DeltaPrime is an amazing protocol and opportunity.
DeltaPrime is a trustless and uncollateralized lending protocol on both Avalanche and Arbitrum. It allows you to borrow up to 5x your collateral, which can range from USDC to BTC to wrapped ETH, but it can also be LP tokens from GMX, for example, or from Trader Joe liquidity book. Now, if you want to join this round, if you know us, if you know the Prime token, you understand the Prime token, and you think, I'm definitely going to keep this for 6 months, you might as well do it at the best rate possible, which is at Colony.
And now, after this amazing elevator pitch, you will have the presentation of the vision and the goals of DeltaPrime.
So DeltaPrime will become one simple and safe space where you can deploy any kind of DeFi strategy that you can think of using borrowed capital with any asset, any other protocol that's going to come in the future. We're going to integrate it together with our community to the DeltaPrime ecosystem. In this way, creating the most highly efficient money market and allow other people outside of crypto to get in and get their exposure to native crypto yields.
So after this vision and goal pitch, now they're gonna explain why did they choose to fundraise through the Avalanche community with Colony early stage platform.
The reason we chose to launch together with Colony is because they've been supporting us from the start, and moreover, a lot of their users are our users, and a lot of our users are Colony's users. We want our token to be in the hands of you, the loyal DeltaPrime user, and this is the best way to reach you.
Okay, so after these 3 short pitch, we're really going to deep dive about what is DeltaPrime, the story behind it, and everything. So, quick summary. First, we're going to go into founder's story. So they're gonna run you through, what they did before DeltaPrime. Then the DeltaPrime story itself, how it came together, their journey to become what they are today. After that, we're going to go into product focus. Some community members had some questions, so we'll go into what is the Prime account, how does it work, is it safe, is it audited, is it a product that is easily accessible for newbies, for example. So we'll go through all of that, like the different strategies, how much yield are you getting on these strategies, and so on. After this, we'll go into the deal itself a bit more specifically. So we'll go into tokenomics. We're going to talk about tokenomics. We're going to talk about the vesting schedule. We're going to talk about how the Prime and S Prime token work. And we're going to finalize this talk by investor questions. So we had, questions from the community about the future roadmap, and for example, the use of proceeds, how they're going to use the fund that they're currently fundraising. So yeah, let's start. We're very excited about this talk. So first, can you guys tell us a bit more about the founder story? Like, if you can share your journey in Web3 until before you built DeltaPrime.
So my name is Piotr Duda, and on our Discord you can find me as Mbara. I'm one of 3 co-founders of DeltaPrime, and before working in Web3 industry, I worked with insurance systems. And whoever of you got experience with like Web2 kind of financial systems knows how really complex, how big they are, and how hard to integrate. That's why I got interested in DeFi as a part of a blockchain industry, where you can combine all of these protocols together, where they adhere to the same standards. And this is what kind of we do on DeltaPrime. We build on top of other protocols. So after my Web2 story, I moved to an Oracle project. I worked there for some time. And then since more than 2.5 years, I work with DeltaPrime.
Yes, and my name is Gavin Hesselbank. Before, like, my experience lies mostly in communication. So I studied communication sciences. A couple of years ago, I think 5 years ago, I started trading as well. Initially trading stocks, moved from stocks to Forex, and from Forex to crypto. It was all technical analysis. And while crypto was significantly easier to do this with than with either stocks or Forex, I did this on Binance. And the way that I got pushed into DeFi was by a bug by Binance, which made it seem like my 100% monthly streak was wiped away. This was just trading every single day, right, for 3 months straight. So I put a lot of effort in this, and it was wiped away by a single bug. I thought that I forgot to put a stop loss. Turned out to be a UI bug, so I was devastated for days on end for absolutely no reason. So I got pushed into DeFi, where I can actually see what's happening on chain. Everything is fully transparent, and in doing so, December 2021 came, October 2021, a very good period for DeFi. It was very difficult to lose money. Started traveling, and in Sicily, I met Piotrek after staying there for 2 times as long as I was planning to, due to unforeseen reasons. I couldn't leave the country, so I was stuck there. And on rooftop terrace, I met Piotrek. We got to talk about DeFi, about crypto, and about the solution that he and Camille thought of, which is to a problem that we all know, right? That lending doesn't make sense. And I was in. That's how we started.
Yeah, and maybe a couple of words about Camille, who is our CTO. Camille is really smart. Like, since like a very beginning of his life, like 7 years old, he wrote his first line of code. Really experienced developer, has an experience with managing IT teams for banking institutions. And as me, he saw that actually DeFi is much cooler space to innovate. And since 2.5 years, we are all together.
That's an amazing story, guys. Congratulations on all this. Maybe can you tell us a bit more about DeltaPrime story itself? Because we got like the individual stories, and how did it come together, and what's the story of DeltaPrime, everything you have achieved so far. If you can tell
Yeah,
us more about that, because I think like we have like quick words on my side, like Colony, we started to supported you guys like almost a year and a half ago now. We provided $1 million liquidity, and since then DeltaPrime has grown significantly. You guys managed to acquire something like 6,000 Prime accounts, which is substantial. You integrated with more than 12 protocols, I think, facilitated over like 1.5 billion in swaps and so on. So if you can, run us through this amazing story, that would be incredible.
yeah, for sure. So you indeed, like Colony helped us like from the start, and which is the launch of our product. But like Piotr just said, like we have been working on this for a very long time. So Piotr Camille worked on this a little bit earlier than I did. When I came in January 2022. There was already a little bit built, right? So backend was done a bit. You could trade a little bit. And when we started, so I started with writing a couple of articles, getting a little bit of a community together, about 50 people who were trying out the app. And you could trade, but you could trade on Pangolin. And that was kind of it. We did the Wolf of DeFi trading competition. This was in February 2022. And during this period, while we had our small community to trade against each other and see who could win those NFTs or who could win a cash prize, we were working on getting the protocol ready for going full launch in June 2022. That was the plan. June 2022, that was the date. And I remember in May 2022 that Camille came to us and he said, I know we're going to launch like next month, but I came across this thing. It's called the Diamond Beacon pattern. It would push our launch with 3 months, but it's going to be, from there on, everything is going to be infinitely easier, right? It's going to be a plug and play kind of system. So we'll be able to grow way faster than any other protocol is able to do. And we were thinking about this, like, is this going to be a good decision? We decided to do it. 3 months was not 3 months. 3 months was 6 months. So within this period, we were working on a partnership. So we got partnerships with the Banky, with the Trader Joe, with the GMX. We got a lot of things going, like on crypto Twitter. And then in January 2023, we indeed launched January the 10th. I have to say, because I've seen a couple of times on the chat, people ask like, hey, how come that the pre-seed FDV was at $15 million while the seed FDV is at $30 million? This was around the period that we did this pre-seed. We had $40,000 TVL. We had probably a community. We guessed that everyone is going to use this app. We are very confident about it, but we still have to see, right? And the only real thing that we had to show for the 1.5 year of development at this point was the Colony deal, really, which was on $1 million, which we had bootstrapped in our pools. So this was a whole different level of risk that everyone is taking. And we launched on the January 10th, and we immediately ran into a challenge, which is that we only had Pangolin integrated to make trades. Slippage was about 1%, which means that at 4x your slippage is about 4%, which crushes you because one way is 4%, the other way is 4%. So our whales were not happy, and we had to think of a decision really fast. And that's when the Diamond Beacon proxy pattern, which allowed us to integrate YuxSwap in 1, maybe 2 weeks, I think 1.5 weeks, which is a DEX aggregator. We got it immediately integrated, and that's when we really saw the power of DeltaPrime. Like this was going to be it, right? This Diamond Beacon proxy pattern just did it. Something we're very, very excited about. Month later, Platypus. We started integrating protocols, right? Like a Platypus, a yield jack, pools came to be. A month later, Platypus got exploited, and a couple of our users they lost money on that. So we started raising a insurance fund, and we did this with liquidation fees. an emergency insurance fund to repay some of the funds back that people lost. Quite a big part, actually. And we've been doing this since then. Right now, it's at $2.235 million, top of my head. And it all started with the platypus exploits. So sometimes things that seem very negative, they can turn out for the better, right? And from there on, it was a lot of building. With every integration that we make, a protocol like DeltaPrime, the value of the other integrations exponentially increases because it's fully cross-margin. You can create way more different strategies with more different protocols. So we just started building, and in September 2023 we launched an Arbitrum, which was initially quite underdeveloped. So the first couple of weeks were scary. We weren't ready with a Prime account. Yeah, so here you see indeed the TVL chart. This is from us in total. So in September, indeed, we launched an Arbitrum. That's also the point in time that you see the TVL increase a little bit. Before that, you see the TVL decrease a little bit because we were very overexposed on GLP. Exactly, that's that period. From September on, launched an Arbitrum, focused on integrations on both Arbitrum and Avalanche. TVL started going up again. In this period, end of 2023, we got a grant from the GMX team for the Arbitrum side. Later on, we got a grant from the GMX team for the Avalanche side. And we have been that grants like that not only increase APY, but they also really bring a lot of eyeballs to the protocol, right? And a lot of people, we have a couple of big brains in our Discord who are really diving deep into, okay, how can I, for example, hedge impermanent loss with a Trader Joe? We have a GMX strategy which has returned for me 40%, and it depends a lot on your risk appetite, right? So there are also people who take high leverage, high risk, and who have been doing really, really well. So those are a couple of things that I'm really proud of. We keep developing at a very rapid speed. Last week we integrated PemPy and Pendle on Arbitrum, which is something I'm very excited about. Piotrek, maybe there's something from your side that you're excited about that we've built in the past years?
Yeah, actually, Gavin, you kind of talked about the tech side, how fast we developed everything. So now I will take a little bit from you, the community side. What we have actually talked for the last couple of weeks, it's incredible for us to see how the quality of our community raises with time. So usually what you see with the project is that initially you have high quality users because these are the initial ones, the savvy ones who get early, and then you have more income, and there is a lot of noise and no one knows what's happening. In our case, it's otherwise. The more we grow, the better we see our community becomes, and that's why we want to have our community deeper and deeper into our project, helping us developing it, coming up with the ideas, new integrations. There is whole Discord part for the requirements, what would you like to see, and yeah, Gavin takes part in that.
Yeah, but you covered it well. I think that's the main story so far. And right now, of course, we got TGE coming up. So that's we've been pushing TGE also for a year, I think. So the launch of our product, we pushed that for half a year, all the while thinking, okay, is hype still gonna be there when we actually do it? It was. And now for TGE, we thought we were going to do it a year ago. Tokenomics have improved significantly since then. The protocol has shown real traction. So we're in a completely different stage than we were back then. So really happy that we did it. But all this time we were thinking, okay, next quarter is going to be the quarter. But this time it's we know it. It's going to be the end of June.
And yeah, thank you for your
yeah, I mean, it's really an amazing story, I would say, because what you didn't mention is you guys, kept pushing through the bear market, and a lot of founders, they get demotivated and they don't want to, they have not that many users interacting. You guys kept pushing, kept acquiring, new users. The TVL, grew as well. You diversified as well the kind of the risk, Avalanche, but also Arbitrum. So more opportunities for your users as well. And I think what is really amazing is in Q1 you guys generated more than 1.6 million in revenue just for in that quarter. So then doing that raise, showing everything you already accomplished the TVL, the revenue, and then doing a seed round. So I know some community has been asking, some community members have been asking, like, why is the FDV at 30 million? How can we justify that? And from my perspective, looking at the market and looking at many deals, having an FDV at 30 million while having as we've seen earlier, TVL of over 40 million, and also showing that you guys are generating revenue is really good. So that's really something that people should keep in mind, that a deal like this is not a deal that is that you come by very easily, right? Maybe we can now talk a bit more about the product itself, if you guys are up for it.
Yeah, maybe to jump in what you just mentioned, indeed, like when we started like putting those first articles out, indeed, like Bitcoin was at about 60K, maybe 50K. In that same month, it dropped to 30K. So yeah, we were born in the bear market, and very often, indeed, like when protocols pop up in the bull market, which like there are thousands of new protocols in the bull market, you wonder, okay, are they going to stick around in the bear market? We started in the bear market, we will definitely be here in the bull market, right? So yeah, for sure.
Very true. The team is focused, and it's usually something that some projects lack in the space. So that's a very good sign for the community. Okay, perfect. Maybe we can go over the product. So I have like few questions on my side and from the community as well. For them to understand maybe things better, could you run through like how does the Prime account work exactly, and how DeltaPrime has been sort of able to unlock highly efficient leverage through these Prime accounts?
Yeah, so like if you are with us until this point, you probably like Prime account rings a bell, and the Prime account is like the main innovation, the core innovation that DeltaPrime brings, and it's essentially an escrow smart contract that we deploy for every borrower. And this is the main security innovation that we have inside of DeltaPrime to ensure that the lender's funds are protected, and at the same time, the loans are under collateralized. And this is like the most important thing. Like people are always asking, like how something can be trusted and under collateralized at the same time. So we can make a simple thought experiment. So let's think like you are coming to DeltaPrime with 10K of deposit of collateral, and you borrow 40K. So what happens underneath is that we deploy in an automated way a separate smart contract just for you, and your collateral, your 10K plus the borrowed funds, 40K, they go to this smart account. You cannot withdraw these funds, but you can use it through the smart contract through Prime account. And we provide the UI, the user interface, for you to either trade, provide liquidity, farm tokens, and whatever is going to come into DeFi, we're going to integrate it. In this way, we want to create like a place which is like a simple DeFi portfolio in which you can create any strategy that you can think of using additional capital that you can borrow from our lenders.
That's really impressive. That's really impressive, and I've always been amazed on how it works, because I think for the longest time in DeFi, people were like, the issue with DeFi is that it's always over collateralized, right? So I need to have the capital to then be able to borrow against it, and with DeltaPrime, it's like you don't need that capital to start with, right? You can already leverage up to 5x. So that's
yeah.
That's
Piotr? So if you go into the real world and you try to take out a loan, and the bank tells you that you have to put down first $600,000 before you can get your 500K from the bank, they'll laugh you out of the room, right? If we're going to actually get mass adoption to happen, and we're going to onboard a bunch of new users that are not familiar with an Aave. For example, if the metaverse becomes a thing, or GameFi, for all those kind of assets that people would like to take out a loan on, you need to create something that mirrors what they're already familiar with. So you need to have it under collateralized, otherwise you're not going to onboard anyone, because not everyone is going to figure out what the actual benefit is of borrowing $500,000 against $600,000 collateral, right? And that is indeed so the vision that we've had all the way from the start. We were like, this is something that we will need in the future in order to get DeFi to grow, but to get Web3 to grow as a whole.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's just an amazing feature, I think. And I think that maybe the only not downside, but the only tricky component of it is that you guys need to do a lot of integrations behind the scene for these users to have like a safe environment to deploy capital, and safe for the borrowers, but also for the lenders, because the lenders needs to be assured that you guys can liquidate these positions, right? So maybe my next question is like, what are some of the creative ways users can, make the most of their Prime accounts? Like, what are the recent interesting strategies maybe that you guys have been, using?
So if you're like using Prime account, if you're like an active user, you can see that like the portfolio of like possible integrations, possible strategies, it increases with time. And we have started mostly with a carry trade kind of strategy, where you can borrow AVAX, for example, swap into as AVAX, and put into like swap into a decentralized exchange, and get the additional interest, like the fees over that. And this is a really popular strategy, was with us from the very beginning until now, and we have actually more coming with like more protocols integrated with these strategies coming in the next weeks. So please like watch our Discord. The next one,
some alpha maybe is gonna be dropped here. No,
yeah.
I can sense.
The next one, which is a big one, was a GLP strategy. So like when we are talking about this bear market, like there were moments when like in the history of DeltaPrime, when the market was dead, and like on Avalanche, like DeltaPrime was the place where you could feel the bull market vibe. And it was when we integrated a GLP. Really well-known strategy, highly profitable for many users, where you can either mint GLP out of borrowed USDC, or like underlying assets that GLP is made of, and get like the high interest rates from the like coming from the liquidations, from the like tradings, from the traders' activity. The next one, which is TraderJo V2, that came last year, and it's essentially concentrated liquidity providing. So the one that you use like with Uniswap V3, with TraderJo V2, but we allow you to use the borrow funds, so you can like decide like what's your exposure underneath, and you can leverage your position. And now the last one I will like mention here, because there are like much more than you can think of, is GMX V2. And since GMX V2 has like double-sided, like only double-sided liquidity, so we have like, for example, AVAX USDC, ETH USDC, you can replicate delta neutral strategy on DeltaPrime using this protocol underneath. For example, borrow AVAX, borrow USDC, check what's the current situation on GMX V2, and then create a delta neutral leverage strategy.
NFA.
I think that was pretty complex. Maybe we can. I mean, yeah, I went
Yeah,
too deep.
yeah.
Maybe we can.
But it's good. I mean, our users, they have different level of understanding. So some will just like to, I think, deposit and just enjoy, like very high APY as a depositor. As of now, as of us talking, there is about 16.8% yield for USDC depositors. So that in itself is like already like a very good yield on USDC, not complex, And then if you want to, I think have like more, as you just mentioned, more like complex strategies, you can go on the borrowing side of DeltaPrime.
Yeah, if I can add a little bit, because I mentioned NFA, like, and I'm quite serious about it, because these strategies, they can be complicated. Essentially, we're all about giving you the freedom to create your own strategies. There's a bunch of strategies in our strategies discussion channel in our Discord, which I would highly recommend anyone to jump into before creating some of the more complicated strategies, because stuff like, for example, the GMX V2, you want to keep track of the open interest instead of only hedging against price risk, right? Like, those are details that seem small, but that can get you liquidated in a position that you thought was delta neutral. So definitely don't just copy someone's strategy without fully understanding it and fully understanding what the risk and rewards are with everyone.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's always very important to remind everyone that we're not here to provide financial advice, this is just for information purposes. Okay, great. And so, as we mentioned, some of these strategies can be pretty complex. And so we mentioned earlier that you guys also want to expand the protocol to make it probably more accessible. So what have you built and what are you going to build to ensure accessibility and to make DeltaPrime very easy to use by newbies?
Yeah, so that's coming in the form of zaps. So whoever is using DeltaPrime already knows that we have a couple of zaps, but this is just a starting point, and we're gonna integrate more and more in the future. And they are essentially like built-in, easy to set up strategies. So for example, let's say we have a strategy where you have to like borrow, swap, deploy somewhere, etc. So like the zap does it all for you. You just decide what's the value, what's like your risk parameters, but like in a really simple way, and then it automatically creates this strategy for you. In this way, we want to like make it easier for people to understand like how to set it up and like what's happening underneath. The level of complexity like of the strategies, of course, depends on what do you want to do, because like the core functionalities are really easy. You just click plus and you deposit your funds. You click plus and borrow and you borrow. You go to the page, and like if you are a TraderJoe V2 user, like the interface is really simple. We try to make like unify all of the interfaces inside of our app, but make it as easy as possible. So like if you know how to use TraderJoe V2, you will find yourself comfortable inside of DeltaPrime. If you know how to use Paraswap or ReactSwap, the same. If you know how to use GMX V2 and provide liquidity there, the same. The meaning of zaps is going to be to allow people who have not this experience to make it just easier. But even though not all the zaps are available at the moment, there is whole like docs section about the strategies, how to set them up. There is our community, which is like really willing to help, and we are all here together, like to find out like how to create, how to manage these strategies in the simplest and the best benefiting way.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Gavin, anything you want to add on the accessibility of the platform itself?
No, I think he hit the nail on the head with that one. It's indeed. I think it is important to note that right now there is. So the TVL you have right now is definitely mostly from more sophisticated users. We have hedge funds using the platform. We have users who survived the bear, right? So you're not going to survive the bear if you usually 100x leverage your meme coin. So these are people that understand the protocols that they invest in. To prepare for the bull run, we are right now actually hiring a UX designer, not a UX designer. We're hiring
UX agency, yeah, UX and QA agency.
Right. Yeah, QA. That's what I was looking for. Indeed, to make it easier to access the platform and to also understand exactly how it all works and what's happening, to prepare for the less DeFi literate user.
Yeah, it's really like a recurring topic, I think, amongst founders to, how can I make this more accessible? And for you guys, definitely applies because it's there's a lot going on, right? From the lending side, borrowing side. Maybe talking about all that, maybe we can talk a bit more about the lending side now. So as we mentioned, the lending rate as of now, because the market is spiking up a bit, is very, very juicy. Can you run us through why is it so high? Can you explain the mechanism between the lending and borrowing on the platform, and also probably explain to the lenders why it's safe, right, to lend there, and we didn't mention that yet, but you guys are audited, so we can also talk a bit about that.
Why are we not
Yes.
Terra?
Exactly. So like usually when you're in DeFi or like in any like watching any like financial instruments, like the higher interest rate is perceived as a higher risk, and or like unsustainability. So we have seen like over the years in DeFi, like the airdrops, incentives mechanism like worked amazingly in the bull run, but when the bear market started, like that was totally unsustainable. What we see in DeltaPrime is something different because this is the fair market rate for these assets if the market is efficient, if the protocol is efficient. So normally, like as we spoke before, like the loans are over collateralized. So for example, if you want to borrow USDC, you have to provide ETH of a higher value. So there are limited use cases. There is like limited upside that you can get with such loans. On DeltaPrime, you can borrow up to 5x depending on the asset, and that makes it way more capital efficient market. And this is how people want to borrow. So the current interest rate depends on the current utility of the platform and like how much borrowers want to borrow. And if we see 17%, it means that people want to borrow at 17%. And these are the numbers that we have seen constantly, like over the year. Like our year-to-date performance is even a little bit higher on the USDC pool. So it's gonna keep increasing. Once we'll be adding new protocols, new integrations, people will come with new strategies that will allow them to borrow at 25-30% and still be profitable. And this is what we are focused on. And about the safety of the lenders, this is one of our core values in DeltaPrime, to make it really simple and safe place for our lenders where they can like deploy their capital, leave it there, come after 2 months and see that it's still there, and actually it even auto compounded them their interest. And we have multiple various approaches to increase lender safety. Some of them are like the market standard, like audits, for example. So we had over 6. We are actually right now about to have the 7th audit. But on top of that, we are doing the stuff that almost no other protocol does. For example, the built-in insurance system in which we can insure our protocol against various risks, like for example, exploit of the underlying integration or like the assets volatility, etc. We will have policies for all of that. On top of that, we have Oracle solutions. We work with Redstone, who up to date was a perfect solution with no like security breaches, etc. And we have no Oracle solutions. So the no Oracle solution doesn't need an Oracle to ensure the safety. And this is something that we call a withdrawal guard, where a borrower cannot withdraw the funds even when he creates some market manipulation over like the assets are overvalued, etc. He still has to prove that whatever he borrowed in his account, for example, he borrowed 1 ETH, the 1 ETH worth of value is in this account. So he has to unwind his positions to do any withdrawal, and this is a really great security feature that I think was one of the essential ones for our lenders so far. There is more and more coming. We'll have like B2C insurance. So as a lender, you will be able to like increase your insurance, insure against like various risks, or like decide what exposures your capital can take to. So for example, you like protocol A, but you don't like protocol B. Okay, so I just want to be exposed on the protocol A. So all of that is going to be integrated into DeltaPrime ecosystem to create like the most efficient market for liquidity out there.
Yeah, and I do want to stress one thing that Piotr just said. If we can get a screenshot back up where you see different interest rates. If you see, because right now it was at about 16, at 16.81% on USDC, for example, right? Or the 17.79% of the USDT. I joked a little bit earlier about why are we not Terra. Those numbers mean, take USDT, means that there's someone else, me, for example, borrowing that same USDT at 19, 20%, right? And we gladly do so. So I'm happy to borrow at 20% because of the value that DeltaPrime creates and because it allows me to actually get more capital efficient with the capital that I have over there, make more yield on that. But that means that all of this is real yield, right? What you see here are no incentives. And year to date, that's indeed approximately the percentage that we have given out on the stables.
Okay, that's amazing. And as of now, obviously, I think the USDC and USDT as well part is like very attractive. And the AVAX side is less attractive. But right now the market is going up, right? So it's more like a bullish sentiment. But when we see more of a bearish sentiment, I guess the USDC APR are lower, but the AVAX APR is probably higher because people are shorting the market as well, right?
Yeah, so from the beginning of our protocol, I don't know top of my head for AVAX. Maybe you know it because I saw Kamini post some updates on that with the 500K that I put in there. On USDC, we're looking at about 11% top of my head since we launched. And that's so that means that because it's indeed about 17% from January until now, this is just a more bullish period in which there are a lot of people who want to borrow USDC in order to get access to more volatile assets. So it's generally it's always higher because of the things that you can do. But to be fair, 4.3% on AVAX doesn't make too much sense because a carry trade, as long as there's good utilization, a carry trade to SAVAX, for example, or GGAVAX is quite, I don't want to say free money, but because there's a risk, right? There's DPEG risk, but a risk that a lot of people are willing to take. Let me say it like that.
Yeah, definitely. That's for the more like sophisticated users for sure. Okay, amazing. Shall we go over the tokenomics now? We have few questions from our users. Let me share this with you guys. So on the token distribution, maybe can you give us like more like insights on the why is it structured this way, to get some insight to the community?
Yeah, for sure. Because there's a lot that I can choose from to start with. I'd say so what we have in private seed, bridge, pre-seed, the previous rounds that we've done plus these rounds, they're relatively low. That's to prevent. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do with our tokenomics is we want to create a sustainable token, right? And a sustainable token economy. The more that we sell in our early rounds, the more is going to be unlocked over time, the more selling pressure there's going to be. So that's what we're focused on a lot. If you dive a little bit deeper into the community part, which is relatively high, you'll see that even though there's no vest on that and no unlock, a lot of this is put in what we call publicly owned liquidity, what we are going to call community owned liquidity. Because it was kind of a joke, like publicly owned liquidity versus protocol owned liquidity. But to clarify things, it's going to be called community owned liquidity. And that liquidity will be used, for example, for incentives, and it will be used to emit tokens to the market, but it will be done in such a way that it doesn't increase selling pressure. And that sounds weird, most likely we can dive a little bit deeper into that in a little bit because there's more that we have to cover here. But that's important to note there. Then for the DAO treasury, Piotr mentioned it a little bit earlier already. We are relying a lot more on our community than we did a year ago, a lot more. We asked the community for their feedback in the LTIPP proposal, for example. We recently launched a pool wish list in which the community can bring their suggestions. And that's also why we integrated a lot of the restaking tokens that we integrated a week ago, right? So we have plans for DeltaPrime, which is why we have a token distribution in the first place. But it's 20% that will be there for, top of my head, that is a 12-month cliff as well. And then a couple months vesting. That is for the DAO to decide. So for next year, I want to be able to say the same thing. We are a lot more decentralized than that we are today, right? Just like today, we are a lot more decentralized than we were a year ago. Then for Piotr, maybe you want to dive a little bit deeper into ecosystem growth and bounties.
Yes. So every project that like a DeFi project needs sufficient bug bounties programs to ensure that the white hacks are on our side, not on the other. And this is why we have this 2% allocation there. And we have the ecosystem growth part, which is 12%, which is going to be used, for example, for market making on centralized exchanges. So like this liquidity, which is not going to be like directly going to community, but is going to make DeltaPrime a bigger project, put us onto another level, which of course SEX listings are really important part of that. On top of that, there will be grants. So we already have some protocols building on top of DeltaPrime. We want to see more of that. That's why we'll prepare an SDK for our other protocols to simply integrate DeltaPrime and build something new on top. And for that, of course, some grant programs, some incentives are really well seen. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing.
Actually, maybe two more things. So team allocation, that is quite normal. That's just a regular team allocation. Advisors is, I think, relatively high, although that also depends a little bit on the project that you are in. It also depends on when you get your advisors in. So for example, Jacob, who has been with us at the beginning, it was the three of us and Jacob, who you can find on our landing page. You can find his LinkedIn on our landing page as well, has been incredibly helpful to DeltaPrime, as well as H. I don't know how public that is, but like all our advisors are on our landing page, and Wojciech, and they've all been incredibly helpful right from the start, right? So that's that allocation.
Yeah, thank you for the insight, because it's usually a bit complicated for the community to really understand what's going on behind the scenes, you know. Sometimes people see advisors as just like, you know, that's free money for some people that got, you know, here at the right time or so. But I know in some projects, these advisors get really, really implicated. It's like a team member sometimes. Okay, perfect. Do you guys want to deep dive a bit on the revenue allocation, maybe? So this information on the data room, which is accessible to people staking COI and other KYC.
Yeah, for sure. So until now, we split the revenue allocation initially in just one way. From February, the exploit from Platypus, we started our stability pool. And from February until January, that was the only allocation to that we had revenue to. So right now that has grown to, again, I think $2.235 million, around that number. That got 10% of liquidation fees. Then in January, we increased the liquidation fees to about 16%. And it has been split over the insurance pool and protocol development. From TGE point on, it will be split into another pool, which is the active S-Prime holders. So 33% will go to the continuous development of the protocol, which not only includes salaries for our developers and for our team, but it also includes, for example, the audits. We've done 6 audits right now, now busy with our 7th. Those are pretty expensive. And marketing. Yeah. So that's what that's used for. Insurance pool will just keep growing until the DAO says otherwise, really. And then the active S-Prime holders, these are S-Prime holders who are providing value to the DeltaPrime ecosystem by making sure that there's always sufficient liquidity surrounding Prime and a counter token, which can be AVAX or ETH or in the future USDC. And for that service, they're rewarded with 33% of the revenue as well. This revenue that you see in the top, it has been our all-time high with $1.65 million, which, I mean, is the point. We want to keep growing, and every month, every quarter, every year do better. It's dependent on a couple of factors, one of which is protocol usage. It comes all from liquidations, even though you see us push delta neutral strategies all the time. For the protocol short term, it would be good if more people get liquidated. For the protocol long term, we want to create a good reputation and just want people not lose too much money. But it comes from liquidations, which means that it's dependent on protocol usage. It's dependent on bullishness of the market, because that leads to more risk-seeking users. That's really. So it's variable. That's actually what I wanted to say with it. So it's variable. It depends on multiple different factors.
Okay, perfect. Maybe one of the questions that we got from the community, some of them didn't quite grasp the difference between the Prime token and the S-Prime token. So you already mentioned that a bit, but if you can maybe deep dive on that, Gavin, that would be lovely.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned earlier, the whole point of our tokenomics is to make sure that we create a token economic model which is sustainable long term. It is how we have built DeltaPrime so far, which is why it took us 1.5 years to actually launch the product. It needs to be sustainable instead of just a one-hit wonder, right? Same with our tokenomics. Very often, if I look at price action of tokens, I see that and this is something that most people will agree with. The token does well until unlocks start to happen, because everyone anticipates unlocks from early investors, from early contributors to the project, right? You anticipate those unlocks. Maybe the protocol tried to reduce the supply of these tokens by generating a stake feature, which might even have a redemption period. People anticipate it. They know, okay, wait a sec, there's going to be $500,000 unlocked. There is $1 million liquidity pool. I'm going to lose all the value in my token, right? So protocols try to fight against it by getting these redemption periods in, minting redemption fees, and it might work. Sometimes it works. Very often it does not, which is why we took the other route. Instead of focusing on reducing supply, we focus on increasing the depth of the liquidity. So to come back to your question, difference between Prime and S-Prime. Prime is the essence of S-Prime. In order to use S-Prime, you will need Prime, because it's an LP token, which consists of Prime plus another token. S-Prime, so the demand from Prime really comes from S-Prime, right? S-Prime is going to be the main currency on DeltaPrime. So you can use it, for example, for Prime features. Let's say you want to get a notification if your health crosses 10% and you might be in danger of liquidation. Then you can use Notify in exchange for some S-Prime. If in the future liquidation bots, once we are fully decentralized, we don't need to spend that much on protocol development anymore, and liquidation bots will be opened up to everyone, you'll need to stake S-Prime, or to have S-Prime, because it's automatically staked, in order to run your liquidation bot, and that S-Prime will be slashed if there's a malicious intent. Those and a lot of other features that we will build out over time. So notification system will be there from the start. Other Prime features will be built up over time, for which you will need S-Prime. So that's the main use case of S-Prime. Another use case is, like I mentioned before, S-Prime is an LP token. We really benefit from concentrated liquidity. A year ago, you wouldn't be able to do this because concentrated liquidity wasn't really a thing. So we what we do is with S Prime, you can only get that through DeltaPrime to make sure that there's no price manipulations. And it will be within a certain price range. As long as it's let's say you put $1,000 up, your $1,000 will be put on Trader Joe or Uniswap, which will be our first launch partners for this, in say Prime AVAX. And as long as the current price is within this price range, you are contributing to DeltaPrime. For that, you get 33% of the revenue that DeltaPrime creates. So that's what we mean when we say active S Prime holders. If it goes out of the range, you're no longer contributing to the protocol. You're no longer contributing to our growth, and therefore you'll lose out on this revenue. You'll still be able to use it because it is valuable. You'll still be able to use it for Prime features, but in order to get a part of that revenue, you'll need to keep contributing to the protocol. We'll make this as easy as possible. So there will be we can't automate this. We've gotten that question as well, but it will be as easy as possible. So you'll do it through DeltaPrime. Rebalancing is the click of a button, and everything is preset, so everything is the same for everyone. Bin range, if there is a lot of demand from the community to change the bin range, that is possible. Do keep in mind that because we protect against all kinds of risks, in order to upgrade any of those contracts, there's a 1 month time lock. So it is covered. That's covered as well. Did that answer the essence of your question?
Yes, it did. It did. Yeah, no, it's perfect. I think it gives like a good understanding on how it works, and that's really something I think the users will would appreciate. Okay. Anything else you guys would like to cover on the tokenomics side? We already talked about the publicly owned liquidity to support all this. So,
yeah,
any things you would like to go over?
Yeah, I think because I mentioned the publicly owned liquidity, but maybe to deep dive a little bit into what that means, because very often, and again, we're very much benefiting from Liquidity Book and from Uniswap V3 here, concentrated liquidity, where usually protocols intend to match their emissions with demand, right? To prevent crazy price swings in which only bots really are making a profit. You can try to predict that up front, and of course we have our own predictions as to what will happen with the growth of the protocol, but you'll never be fully accurate. A USDC can debag all of a sudden and everyone loses their mind, right? So instead of trying to predict it, we have this publicly owned liquidity. That's the main goal of it. Let's say you have Prime USDC for simplicity's sake. $750,000, I haven't mentioned this yet. $750,000 of what we raise with our public raises, which includes the community seed round, is allocated for the USDC side of the markets that it will be launched on. So Prime AVAX or Prime ETH. On the other side, we have the liquidity that we raise. But on the other side, we also have Prime from this publicly owned liquidity, and that will be there. It will be there to automatically sell Prime as demand increases, right? And at the same time, if USDC depegs and supply increases, it will buy it back for you. So the goal of that liquidity is to just stay there. Two challenges with that. One main challenge really, and that's that we are very much against trapped liquidity. If, say, Prime at some point reaches $10 and there's a bunch of liquidity at the $3 range, this is a lot of liquidity that's unused, right? And it goes against our whole ethos to utilize as much liquidity in a safe way possible. So what we'll also do is over time, and this will not be from day one, but over time, this USDC in this specific scenario that has been gathered from the Prime can be used to match with that Prime to create S Prime, and that S Prime will then be locked, airdropped to our users. So they can still use, and I say locked because you can use it to pay for Prime features. You can use it to contribute to the protocol and in return be rewarded with more S Prime, right, which comes from the revenue. But you can't unwind it and sell it in the open market. So without increasing supply, we are able to emit as demand increases.
Okay.
It's a lot of information. We're also going to put it on paper. No worries.
Yeah. There's a lot to take in. Which means a lot is going on as well. So that's a good thing. You quickly mentioned like the use of proceed for the seed round. Could you maybe deep dive into that a little bit, just for the community to understand? Because you guys already have like TVL, you're already profitable. Why this seed round? I think obviously you're onboarding the community for the long run, so that's really something I think every founders should aim at. But like a lot of these users ask, like use of proceed, where is that capital raise going to go?
So there are actually two ways in which we'll use this capital. The first one is just for the TGE to ensure that there is enough liquidity. We'll use half of the round to provide as a counter token to the Prime. So like the initial Prime buyers or like S Prime minters, they will have like enough liquidity that they can use. The other part is will go to the protocol development. We are here at $42 million TVL, but this is just for a moment of start. Like this is definitely not our like final goal. We want to 10x it, 20x, and so on. And for that, of course, we need to increase our development efforts. And what we will be putting a lot of effort in the upcoming weeks and months is the quality of the platform. As we mentioned before, we are hiring a professional QA UX agency to improve the flows, to get rid of some bugs that our users are sometimes having problems with. And of course, that's a lot of like a development effort. And of course, audits. So there are a couple of new features that we are working on and are either almost finished or they're like currently developed, and we have to audit it, and for that we need additional capital.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think the next question for me that I have is in terms of roadmap then. So you already started to talk a bit about it. Maybe you can run us through the roadmap, what's ahead of us. You mentioned that you want to 20x your TVL. So when 1 billion TVL and
All that.
yeah, it actually can. I think if we see like a good traction in the Avalanche ecosystem, and I mean you guys also on Arbitrum, so you multiply your chances there for sure. If you can run us through what's the future roadmap, because as of now the traction has been pretty substantial. So yeah, happy to hear what's next.
Yeah, for sure. Our roadmap is like we have things that we are working on and that are public. So, for example, we are working on PT from Pendle, right? So right now we have PenPy integrated, and through that Pendle, we also want to integrate Pendle PT directly. We are working with Gogolpool right now on a new integration with them as well. So that's something that we're also very excited about. That's actually going to come out in the next couple of weeks. Our roadmap is not fixed, and that's for a couple of reasons. Part of which not fixed anymore. So it was very fixed, but part of which is just marketing reasoning. We have hired the head of marketing, and creating hype is a little bit easier if not everyone knows everything that you're building all the time. But the maybe even more important part is, like I mentioned before, we have this, for example, this pool wish list. We really want the community to take more responsibilities, maybe not the right word, but to be able to voice their needs more. and they are really willing to do so. They're constantly offering, and they've been doing so like right from the start. But right now we are actually integrating the things that they want to see, right, instead of only what we want to see. So we definitely have a couple of things that we just haven't shared yet, also coming quite soon after our TGE. A couple of big things that we're very, very excited about, that we're keeping a little bit secret. But another major reason is just that we want the community to have their input. So if you want to design our roadmap, come into our Discord, say something in the pool's wish list.
Yeah, I think that's the way it should be, even though it creates, some some tricky potential situations, because like the community cannot, see and sometimes struggle to understand like how complex it is in the backend to do another integration, or maybe change the way the feature works. Because I think some people compare sometimes like Web3 and Web2 development, but on Web3, it's like contracts, they're audited, they're not supposed to move, right? When you put stuff on the blockchain, it's really hard to just change little things and here and there. So
yeah, like there are definitely like upsides to being able to be a filter like we are right now. If we're fully decentralized, like, and you have like a real cool DAO in 1.5 years, then that has its own downsides. But to be fair, Piotr mentioned a little bit earlier as well that the quality of input from our community over the year has increased significantly. There are like really great conversations happening in there, and they understand a lot more than we initially knew, right? So yes, they put in what they want to see, and then we still open up the discussion like, okay, just so you know, this will take us a month, 2 months, and then they're like, okay, well, actually maybe some low-hanging fruit might be better for now then, because this we would also like to see, things like that. And the conversation is way more two ways with us and the community, instead of us saying, okay, now we're going to integrate this, then we're going to integrate this.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, perfect. Well, we went through a lot of things. Thank you guys for your time. Do you want to address any last topics before we wrap this up? Anything that you would like to share with the community that we already haven't shared?
Maybe we can shortly talk about governance power, because we kind of like touched the idea that we're gonna like decentralize our project, etc. But it's actually really important when it comes to our TG that is coming soon, as we know. So by staking as Prime and having some exposure, like some kind of activity on DeltaPrime, either on lending side or on the borrowing side, you will be able as a user to gather the governance power. So as we've seen in a lot of projects, you can buy sometimes like the governance on the market, you can buy it with money, which is of course like a great step forward for like decentralizations of the companies, let's so to say, but doesn't always like fully align the protocol users and the token holders. In our case, it's going to be really connected, where to get the governance power, you have to be the active user of DeltaPrime, and at the same time having S Prime, so having partial exposure to the Prime and to the protocol performance. So that's going to come from TG. So like from TG, you can start getting these governance points and then decide how DeltaPrime is going to look in the future.
Yeah, that's really good. It's true that sometimes it's like if you look at token distribution, you have the VCs owning a lot. So if they're the one voting, it has nothing to do with what the actual users are doing. So it's some tricky situations happening this way. So glad you guys found a way to make it work, to account for the real community feedback and the users' feedback. Okay, great. Perfect. On my side, that's pretty much every question that I had for you guys. Maybe as a reminder, so this deal is right now on Colony's platform. So you can invest in DeltaPrime seed if you already put some of your end token during the deal flow phase. It's gonna stay in analysis for a few days. This is the first project going through the entire platform, so we want to get the user we want to enable the users to have a lot of time to review all the materials, this video, to really make like a decision that is with reason and with all the information possible. We had like an amazing, I think, interest from the community in terms of investment interest. They put like almost they put like 1 million interest, and this deal is like 500K raise target. And so we'll see how this week is developing, but probably these numbers that you see will change by the end of this weekend when the video will get released. And yeah, once again, to be able to access these deals, you need to stake CLY and to KYC, because once again, all of this is not financial advice, and Colony is also compliant with international fundraising standards. So there will be no US investors participating in that sale to protect the project. And I'm sure you guys don't want to have any US investors in your cap table for very good reasons. So yeah, it's we try to create like a safe environment for funders like you guys to raise capital from the community, to decentralize their cap table, and really get your users to invest. Because as we just mentioned, the VCs, it's not really your end user at the end of the day. Okay, great, that's perfect.
On that, if I can, because not only, we're raising like this 500K, but the number of registrations stands at 553 people, right? So that means that it's about $1,000, a little bit less, 960 every user, and that's exactly what we want, right? We want to have this as decentralized as possible from day one, and that's also why this has, in my opinion, a very low FTV. For my feeling, we gave a really good deal here because the token ends up with who we want it to end up, right? If you were to do this private, you are looking more at $40 million, and then we'd still expect it to take max 2 weeks. So yeah, really happy to be able to do this. I really want to thank you also on the marketing side, by the way, like on promoting this and showing this to the full Colony and Avalanche community.
Yeah. The what we try to do with Colony is, like invest in research projects, provide liquidity. So I think with you guys, we did like both. So we provided 1 million liquidity really to help you guys bootstrap the protocol initially. And that liquidity is still there. I think we only removed like 500K, and as of now, there's maybe, I didn't check today, but 1.5 to 2 million there still. So that's great. And now you guys are onboarding Colony's community and your own community, because it's really intertwined, as you just said. So that's great. All right, guys, I think we can wrap this up. It was a pleasure talking to you both. Thank you for taking the time and explaining everything to the community. And I think, I should probably mention that if you have any more questions, you can go on DeltaPrime Discord. You can also go on Colony's Discord and Colony Telegram. On Discord, for your information, it's a bit more focused on each projects that are undergoing fundraising. So if you have specific questions, better to go to Discord directly. And yeah, anything else I should mention, guys?
Yeah, I think we would like to thank you. We would like to thank to the whole Colony team, and most importantly to the Colony users, Colony community, that you are there with us since the day one of DeltaPrime beta version in the middle of the bear market. Your funds were here, and now you're constantly being with us. Is great, and thanks for believing in us, what we do in our mission. We really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, and I thank you on behalf of the community, I think, as well. It has been very, very tough, I think, for teams like you guys to keep pushing through the bear market. but also for the community, because they really went through a lot, and that's great to finally see, like good momentum in the market, amazing deals like this, where they can participate, and where it's not only for VCs, and they only buy in the secondary market when it's already high. They've been here since the start for you guys, so now it's like they have a chance to really invest at the start valuation, let's say. So that's amazing. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you
Bye-bye.
soon.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.